We got a loose set of rules around here in a way that can be not very corporate. So can you explain to me what's going on with our video department when Lewis walks in late and Billy celebrates him for getting here early? And Tony's not here at all.
Well, if he gets here in the next 10 to 15 minutes, he'll also be early because Bob announced that he'll be an hour late today because yesterday was his birthday. Yeah. So if he gets here any minute before an hour late, he's early. And Lewis, he had to get through the horrible weather this morning. All of us had to deal with the weather this morning. But I thought that he was going to get here like at 8:15. So when he got here like at 8:03, I was like, whoa, you're early today. He beat Waze, our game, Dan. Remember?
Not surprising, though, that the way that you would explain that might confuse the audience because it made it sound like it was Bob's birthday today. And that's the reason that Tony was late.
Is it?
I mean, and so you fouled up the story pretty profoundly.
It might be Bob's birthday today.
What happened is that Lewis gets here late, and you celebrate him for being early because you have such low expectations for that corner. And then Whittingham and Mike Ryan burst out laughing because it was said that Tony was going to be late because it was his birthday last night. That Lewis was going to be late because of the weather, and Tony was going to be late because it was his birthday last night. And
I didn't know that is that a corporate policy that we can be late if it's our birthday the previous day? That's amazing. Can I be late because it's because it's Tony's birthday?
I did not think that was corporate policy. I don't know what corporate policies are. Greg has also arrived late. You heard him arrive with his computer making all sorts of noises. Welcome to a Greg Cody Tuesday.
Thank you.
What were you guys laughing about? Roy's also late. I've been wanting to talk to him about Huberdeau for 2 days. Did Greg Cody have an opinion? Did Greg Cody have any opinion on what Mike Ryan is describing as the ballsiest blockbuster trade in the history of South Florida?
I think it's a great trade. I have a column on it in the Miami Herald this morning. Huberdeau disappeared in the playoffs. He's almost 30. The guy they got is 24, I believe. A budding superstar. He just scored the most goals. No Panther has scored more goals than this guy just scored since Pavel Bure in 2001. He's dynamic. He's ballsy. He's got attitude. My only complaint about Huberdeau and Barkov over the years has been that they're fairly meek of personality. They're not, and I think you saw that in the playoffs. And this guy even said it in his introductory press conference yesterday. Is that the team?
Are you afraid to say his name because you're describing him as this guy? Are you afraid to say his name? Or?
Matthew. He and I are on first name.
You're going Matthew as opposed to the famous surname.
I'm going Matthew.
But do you know the surname, or are you scared of the surname? Is there something about the spelling of the surname that makes it hard? Are you not aware that this is a famous hockey name?
It is. His father's a Hall of Famer, I believe, Keith. Right? I also had a first name basis with him, and his lesser known brother. I go by, what is it, Brian? Brady. All right, I was close. This guy has an attitude. I love it.
Does the attitude, is this, you guys help me because I don't think attitude matters, but Mike was grinning and nodding in agreement with they seem like meek personalities. And that the team certainly seemed meek in the playoffs, but I feel like Tampa will do that to you.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, Tampa will do that to you, but Uyghur was bad all postseason long. He was an abomination out there. I do find it curious that the Florida Panthers took a lot of stock in what happened and what went wrong in that postseason. Huberdeau went missing for long stretches in that postseason.
Yes.
Uyghur was the worst player on the team after arguably being a top 100 player in the league.
Whittingham is plagued in his Dolphin appraisals at all points emotionally by this franchise in whatever its management form has betrayed me. I'd be willing to sign up for making the argument on behalf of this trade, but I believe this trade is plagued by all the managements before this that did the wrong thing in this spot. I'm not even saying that that's fair to do that to them, but I certainly don't trust them to make the appraisal you guys are making, which is, oh, this is as far as we go. This thing, because of meekness of personality, I got to get my best player in franchise history out of here because he's 30 and I need more dog. And it's like, wait a minute, in hockey? You need more. I get it. Hockey's got maximum dogs.
If there's a sport where you need dog.
Yeah, that's it.
But you guys believe in personality that way. Roy has now arrived, so we'll get his opinion on it in a moment. But you believe in the idea that this guy can change a team because he's not nice?
I think the physicality along that front line, it actually pairs well with Barkov, who is an excellent defending forward. I think it gives a team a little bit of an edge in looking at what went wrong the last postseason and seeing how this offseason has gone, where Duclair tears his Achilles. They lost a lot of players. You're entering the next season worse than you were the previous one, and you got swept at the hands of, at the time, the defending two-time champion in Tampa Bay. You're not closing that gap. That gap got wider. So you have to do something drastic. However, stapling additional assets, such as a first-round pick, when you now don't have any till 2026, you've mortgaged your future on a 24-year-old superstar that is locked in. It is not a small thing to have 8 years of Matthew Tkachuk at 24 years old, a player that is still ascending. We have a pretty good idea of what Jonathan Huberdeau is at 30. Have we seen the best of him? You can make that argument at 30 years old. Do you want to invest the contract that you just gave Matthew Tkachuk into Jonathan Huberdeau? There's a lot of reasons to do it. However, emotion is also playing here. This is Jonathan Huberdeau, the greatest Panther of all time,
Mike, your emotion, though, is a funny thing because you go to blowing up the Heat emotionally on the other end when they're a bounce away. And as it relates to Huberdeau, Roy, it's the best offense we've ever seen in the sport. The centerpiece of it, the thing through which everything moved, all of the assists, you're wrecking it. You can tell me you're upgrading it, but I just saw it, and I've never seen an offense like that. You're telling me bringing in more defense. You just took the most exciting Panther team of my lifetime, and you took its star, and you sent him away. You felt how surprised were you, Roy, when all of this happened? Because Mike got the news in trickles. How you love this team more than anyone around here. You thought what when they did this?
I was surprised. I mean, granted, he and Mackenzie Weegar were on expiring contracts, and they saw this big fish, and they decided to go for it. Now, granted, Matthew Tkachuk last season had 104 points. That's still going to help your offense, obviously. But I was talking to Doug Plagans yesterday at the intro conference.
Hockey bona fides.
Roy bomb.
Yeah.
Roy bomb.
I mean, it's a comparable. It's not really a bomb. Have you seen Unrivaled? The Avalanche and the Red Wings rivalry.
No, but I've heard it's great.
It is excellent. And he gave this comparable. In the 1996-97 season, this is after the whole Claude Lemieux situation, the Red Wings traded for Brendan Shanahan, all right? That's the comparable that he gave, and that's the type of player that Matthew Tkachuk is. So that's the trade.
Hockey mean is what you guys are doing. Yep. You guys are really doing this. We just traded away our best star player of our most exciting offense because we got a guy who's more hockey.
Well, that's the trade that put the Red Wings over the hump. They ended up winning the Stanley Cup that season. So if you're going to compare that trade to this trade, I'm pretty excited right now.
Okay, but that's an excellent parallel. I'm sure I can find a comparable one that doesn't work out that great. No?
Best case scenario.
Yeah.
I mean, you're very hopeful
Doug
right now.
told them, yeah.
You guys are done with this Panther team, the best of my lifetime.
See, that's the thing that for me is too harsh about this. I think they needed to variable control. If you think we talked about this Lightning team being the boogeyman for the Panthers. Before they won 2 championships and got to a third final, they got swept in the first round as an all-time regular season team by the Columbus Blue Jackets, and they kept everything. The coach, who everyone wanted to fire, they kept him. That core, they didn't go and break it up. 1 year of winning the President's Trophy, and because they got swept in the second round, it's tear the whole thing down. You talked about making assessments. That's the only thing that I think is harsh, is they made an assessment between not keeping the coach and not keeping the players that what they had wasn't good enough. And rather than try and go again and see if that experience helps and see if whatever alchemy of the hockey playoffs helps allow a team to grow, they instead tear the whole thing down.
And if you think that's a small sample and 2 years ago is probably just a flash in the pan, let's look at the most recent Stanley Cup champion, the Colorado Avalanche, who also won the President's Trophy, who blew a 2-0 lead against the Vegas Golden Knights and lost in embarrassing fashion. They ran it back. Stanley Cup champs.
Bill Zito's not done, though, because the Panthers are still over the cap, so it is going to be another deal. They're going to end up sending some people down to AHL.
I love Bill Zito, who looks like a retired MMA fighter. This guy, he doesn't take any shit from anybody. I love that he's doing what he's done.
Put it on the poll. Does Bill Zito take any shit from anyone?
He doesn't.
And in general now, what you guys are telling me, and I hate this, is hockey analysis. You know what we're a team now that does? we're a team that doesn't take any shit from anybody.
Damn right.
Before, we'd take all your shit.
All
like
your
you'd come
shit.
over and you'd only if you
A little bit of shit.
Okay, but now Tampa gave you shit. Tampa shit on you.
Oh, yeah.
You
There's a lot of shit.
Tampa
time.
took a shit on
Swatted
you.
right over you.
And
What I did like about that press conference was Matthew Tkachuk in an American accent, which is always kind of disarming when you're watching a hockey player, because this is the greatest American in franchise history, pushing out the Beezer.
Right.
It really is.
Well, he was born in Scottsdale. I mean,
Well, his dad is Keith Tkachuk.
I understand that Hall of Famer who was playing in Phoenix at the time. I get all that.
were you afraid of the name because it's with a TC?
Obviously, TK. Obviously, I knew the T
Like
wasn't
Stugotz is in
pronounced.
here.
He's got a trademark Tkachuk.
No, Matty Ice.
Yeah, I'm going to be very honest with you. I wasn't positive the hard A or the soft A.
But-
I waffled between the Kachuk and the K-Chuck.
But
I
he
will
says that he
admit
hates the Tampa Bay Lightning, which is a good way to endear.
Yeah.
And he, to his credit, he's handled this very well. If you were watching the social media interaction from anything Tkachuk related on the Panthers socials, it is a tire fire. He won some people over yesterday with that press conference saying that he hates the Tampa Bay Lightning. Actually, for hockey, seems like an effervescent personality.
I think it's worth pointing out that never in the history of sports, he said in obvious hyperbole, has a better regular season failed so miserably and so embarrassingly in the playoffs. You're shut out by Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay, the example that Chris gave you 2 years ago,
Yeah.
setting records.
I
They got
would
swept by
say
Columbus.
the 116 win Mariners, who won more baseball games than any team ever and haven't been to the playoffs since. And I would say that one is pretty good.
The biggest scoring team in the NHL scores 3 goals in 4 games and getting swept. What was their power play, Roy? Was it 1 for 32 or something?
Yeah, just about.
It was
yeah.
terrible.
mean,
it got the coach
You
fired.
have to do something.
Okay. You say we have to do something, but forgive me for being skeptical of you guys really doing this fanboy thing of we needed to be meaner and we won the press conference, as if it's not hard to win the President's Cup.
I'm not exactly sure.
Trophy.
Do you think I'm playing both sides? What side do you think I'm on? Because I'm pretty despondent about losing my second favorite player in franchise history.
But
I
you're
have a
happy
Huberdeau
about
jersey.
Tkachuk.
Well,
I can see the positives.
No,
I can
but-
rationally do it. But then when we start going to Uyghur and we start going to the picks, and I look at the offseason as a whole, and I see the disastrous Sherrod trade and the disastrous Giroux trade,
Giroux, yeah.
I think that Zito has kind of mismanaged the recent situation in cup chasing. This is actually an eye towards the future, one can argue. It also signals that negotiations with Jonathan Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar were not going well. I just don't understand the leverage that Calgary
That's
had.
the part. That's the part that's
Tkachuk said he was
confusing to
gone.
me. That's the part that I don't get. You just gave up what anybody in the league would want for a player that had leveraged his organization and wasn't coming back. You're on the and hockey's a little slower to player empowerment than the other sports. And once Tkachuk says he doesn't want to be in Canada anymore, that is a wrap. You have no leverage. Durant, look at what's happening with
No.
Durant. This kind of player at 24 is not available ever.
The leverage is that the Panthers were not the only team after him. And he had listed 3 cities that he would be very willing to go to, including Sunrise, if I can use that word instead of Florida. So there was leverage. You know, Bill Zito had to pay to get this guy. You get what you pay for. And as you say, this is a generational talent,
Roy,
given his age and the season he's coming
Was
off.
there leverage here, Roy? Because I don't think that's leverage. Yes, 3 teams involved, but you could sit and wait. Like you could say that the Miami Heat right now could have traded both Bam and Tyler. And what is Durant's leverage? Well, there are other teams out there, but they haven't because you're not irresponsible. You're not irresponsible where you're reacting to the idea that someone else might spend more on somebody for you. Like you can't nuke everything that resembles a plan when this franchise has had so much trouble building anything meaningful because of what you're saying. I'm not saying they shouldn't try and get that player. What I'm saying is the cost was damning. Like they paid top dollar for something that didn't require top dollar.
Well, if they overpaid, we can debate that. But the sweetener is like the prospect and the draft pick. Like, seems like a Pat Riley move to me. If you agree with me on that one.
I don't think they're in the position to not care about draft picks right now. Hopefully, they can sweeten the pot a little bit for the emotional fan, and maybe this signals an extension for Carter Verhaeghe, who had a great year, who had a great
Time to
postseason
have that
run.
conversation.
It's time to have that conversation. We need to start a dialogue about extending Carter Verhaeghe, who's 26 years old, and maybe I can see a little bit more sense in it. You mentioned the cap situation. Are they going to do the Tampa Bay Lightning trick with Duclair?
Yes.
And just stash him so he doesn't count against the cap? This team has done a lot of salary dumps. They have let go of a lot of players. Some of it to make room for 20 games of Claude Giroux and Giroux, or Sherratt. I'm sorry. I always get that one confused. Either way, he's no longer here.
Whitty had a tough one the other day during a broadcast on soccer that he was lamenting yesterday, that he was just so annoyed. When you've annoyed Whitty with the languages, we've gone too far. Like when we've with the names and the surnames, and I'm here to stand on the mountain alone of, God damn, these foreign names are getting hard to keep up with throughout sports.
That could be a political platform, so be careful.
Oh boy! Oh boy!
It's close.
I didn't say that.
It's pretty close. But what happened? What happened, Whitty, with you and the soccer broadcast?
Oh yeah, so I was watching a game, and LA Galaxy were playing Atlanta United, and two players had the exact same name, but because they came from different countries, they were pronounced entirely differently. So there was a Mexican right back for the Galaxy named Julian Araujo, but there was a Brazilian winger for Atlanta named Luiz Araújo. And they have the exact same last name, but because one is Brazilian and one is Mexican, you pronounce their names entirely differently. So the commentator was wrestling these two names, and he kept like hat tipping to the audience, like, I know that this is hard. Araújo, like, oh, it's Araújo. Like he kept wrestling with these names, and I just felt bad for him.
Roy, the Brendan Shanahan comp that the Panthers gave you, it does kind of make sense, but Jonathan Huberdeau, with all due respect to Keith Primeau, is a great deal better and meant a lot more to the franchise than Keith Primeau meant to the Red Wings. I understand Paul Coffey went there. How old was Paul Coffey when he was involved in that Shanahan trade? 47?
Yeah, just near 40.
I'd
Yeah.
say Uyghur, probably a better player at this stage in his career than Paul Coffey was then. They gave up a lot. Shanahan is a great comp for the player because Tkachuk has that edge. He mixes it up in the forward check. He'll get you occasional assists, but he'll put the puck in the net, and he won't back down. And we saw this team kind of go inside of its shell. So I understand from a total team identity standpoint what they're trying to do. It goes with replacing the head coach to now the Tkachuk thing. I am just really confused why we mortgaged the future in going for the cup run and haven't replenished those assets. We're just doing cap dumps. And when we're doing cap dumps, we're not actually getting picks. That's why you're supposed to do it.
One of the things I heard that was really interesting in trades in the NBA was, like, for a player like Donovan Mitchell, for instance, or even Kevin Durant, you want to try and go get draft picks from a team that doesn't have a track record of being sustainable. So if Sacramento calls you, it wants to give you 4 first-round picks, take them because they don't have a sustainable track record. If Brooklyn wants to give you a bunch of first-round picks, they don't have a sustainable track record. And frankly, the Florida Panthers are that in hockey. If you're another team, you want the Florida Panthers draft picks because they don't have a record of being sustainable winning. And so I do think that it means a lot to give up a first-round pick in 2 or 3 years' time because I don't have confidence that in 2 or 3 years' time, this Florida Panthers team is going to be sustainably good.
Well, they might not have a track record, but it seems like the general managers in the league see the potential of the future with this team. It seems like they're going to end up winning a cup within the next 5 years.
I mean, that's very ambitious.
You can't say
That's
that.
very ambitious.
Holy shit.
What
How
did
do you
Doug
go?
say about that?
How hopeful are you? Wait a minute. Billy, you
Hey,
fell off of your chair when he said, I talked to Zito yesterday.
no, Doug.
Doug Plagens, the
Plagens.
radio play-by-play guy for the Panthers.
My bad.
Name
Step
drop.
down from Zito.
It was a
Doug
step
Plagens
down.
takes shit from people.
Put it on the poll at LeBatard Show. Does Doug Plagens take shit?
Yeah, he does.
Does
Zito
Doug
doesn't.
Plagens take shit from people? I'm sorry. Where did you talk to Doug Plagens?
In the conference room, right after the press conference.
Okay, so you didn't talk to
Roy,
Zito.
Roy was on the scene yesterday.
This is where I was getting. I thought he talked to the general manager. My bad. But
And
you
literally said Doug Plagens.
You did. My bad. You did reporting on this.
Dan doesn't know the name of the Panthers radio play-by-play voice when he hears it for the first time.
I did not know his name. I did not recognize the name, and I confused it clearly with Zito. But why were you talking to him? Why were you talking to him? And what
Bob's
else
birthday.
was
Give
from
Dan a
that
break.
press conference? And why, Billy, were you so amused by the idea of Roy talking to him?
I was having a conversation with him right at the press conference.
Roy, was that an
Media people.
exclusive, or were there other reporters around?
There were other reporters. Yeah, your rival Dave Hyde was there. Yeah. Yeah,
Jackson
Tim Reynolds.
5, obviously.
Everybody put their iPhone
no,
in front
Barry.
of Doug Plagans.
No, Barry.
No, Barry was not there. No Jackson 5.
They did it by Zoom too. Some of us were in Zoom. A lot of us actually.
Well, maybe Barry was there.
Were you on Zoom?
I was. Yeah.
There is not a sport. Now that the Dolphins have moved training facility, there is not a sports team closer to you than the Florida Panthers.
That's true. I had extenuating circumstances. I had a doctor appointment way up in Deerfield Beach. I could not get back in time to go to the arena. So I was a little late on Zoom, but I still was participating in the press.
You were
Everything
also
all right?
you were also late on Zoom, so it's not.
Just a tad late. And then I listened to the thing. The beginning that I missed, I listened to it later. I got to put my health first, Dan. But let me say one more thing. I don't know how you can say this club is "quote unquote" mortgaging its future when it just signed a de facto sign and trade with a 24-year-old superstar just coming into his prime, who they have for an extraordinarily long 8-year contract. And guess what? In 8 years, he's still going to be in his prime as one of the top players in the NHL.
It is an excellent point, but I think what we're saying is they don't have a first-round draft pick until 2026. However, their track record in the draft is
Not great.
not fantastic.
Yeah.
But that's through several regimes. Kind of odd that Jonathan Huberdeau hasn't said anything. We've already had the Tkachuk press conference. He's already done the rah-rah stuff.
Right.
The only thing that we've seen from Huberdeau on his socials is he's changed his Instagram avatar to a Flames one. No message to the Panthers. It seems, I mean, if we're just reading into it, like we hurt some feelings here.
He talked to the media in Calgary. Apparently, he was shocked that the Panthers ended up making the trade. Like, he was expecting a call about the extension on Friday.
Yeah,
he got the trade call.
Yeah,
That
he
is-
told TSN, I gave a lot to the organization. I would have liked probably to get a little bit more respect.
Damn. Did the Panthers say anything? Did your boy Doug or Zito say anything about how the negotiations were going with Huberdeau?
No, they didn't say anything about that. They didn't say that it went bad or anything like that. They just said that he was available.
Roy,
They went for
Raw
it.
deal. Raw deal. That's the best
Please.
player in franchise
Okay,
history.
we'll get back to that for a
Disrespectful.
second. We're just going to skip right past Roy saying, so now they're going to win the cup?
In the next 5 years.
years.
I mean, come on.
But still,
They're not.
I
Well,
mean,
they are.
No, they're not. No, I would take the Red Wings over them. I think I would even take
okay.
the Blue Jackets. I think so many teams got better. Tampa Bay got a little bit worse because they had their own cap situation to manage. But other teams are coming. This Panther team isn't as good as last year's Panther team. They're going to be different, and a different playing style may mean some success. I don't really have a lot of faith in the coaching hire that they made.
I don't either.
He had one good postseason run, but he's been coaching for a long time in the NHL, and the success isn't there that makes you think that, oh, we're headed in the right direction. I think even though I will say the betting odds for the Stanley Cup went down for the Florida Panthers after this move, which I found curious.
I'm not surprised.
I really do hate, though, that every move that we're making is us trying to tiptoe around Sergei Bobrovsky's contract. It's because they're in this situation. It's why they can't extend players. It's why they're selling during the offseason as opposed to buying, even though they've locked in Tkachuk for 8 years. They can't find a team to take on this contract.
Right.
It has been an albatross.
And likewise, Spencer Knight, is he ready yet? Is he the guy? That's a bigger question to me than it was a year ago.
The Florida Panthers, by the way, are second favorites on DraftKings Sportsbook to win the Stanley Cup next year. They're plus 850. So to Roy's point, they're still rated as the best team in the East, level with the Toronto Maple Leafs, as having the same odds at plus 850.
I'm just worried about the defense. That's all I am. I mean, the goals will come. I'm just worried about the defense. And I'm sure they'll show that up because Paul Maurice is a good defensive coach. So I think they fix that. They'll get a lot further in the playoffs.
They do have some prospects they feel good about at the back end, but they just lost Uyghur. They just lost Sherratt. These are two offensive-minded defensemen, which is
Give
part
Bill
of the problem.
Zito time to fix this, guys.
God, we
That's
are
right. He's been on the
hockey
job
analysts.
not quite 2 years. He was hired in September of
After
20.
the albatross of a contract was signed, might I add.
And by the way, I agree with you on the Paul Maurice hire.
I'm sorry. I'm just laughing at Billy's. Billy just lobbed the fish of dead enthusiasm into the middle of the conversation.
Someone has to be excited. The only one excited about, Matty Ice here is Roy. No one else is excited about this trade.
We're
am.
trying to neuter Roy's enthusiasm is over exuberant. He just predicted that one of the worst franchises in hockey We can say that,
Not
correct?
recently.
We can say their history
Biden Cup winners.
is one of the worst histories we've seen in hockey throughout the sport, throughout the history of the sport. For you to just flippantly say they'll win the title within 5 years strikes me as shocking optimism, shocking hope by any standard.
Particularly because the new head coach hire is the losingest coach in NHL history. Literally. Most losses in NHL history. 7th in wins, 1st in losses. Never done much in the postseason. Otherwise, a promising hire.
I mean,
And by the way, Le Batard never gives me credit for writing a controversial column. When Paul Maurice was hired, I basically said the Panthers just traded a Coach of the Year finalist, essentially, for the losingest coach in hockey history.
But here's the thing about Paul Maurice, and I think you guys can all agree on this. You learn more from your failures than you do from your successes.
And
yes
he's the
or
smartest
no?
man in America
That's exactly
and
right.
Canada.
Greg, you're in a position of power this segment.
Am I?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no Dan. There's no Stugotz.
Wow,
Both of them late to the segment.
I'm nervous.
Both of them MIA. How are you going to handle it? Because anytime you're slightly late,
How am I going to handle it?
Yeah, what do you do?
Poorly would be the answer to that.
No, I mean,
question.
how do you handle them walking in mid-segment?
I
'Cause
mean,
you've been on the other end of this for some
I
time
have.
now.
I think they're in for criticism and should be.
Really?
I say fit in or fit out.
That's
Wow.
right.
You get this train chugging along, they're going to have to find their way.
Damn right they
This
are.
is the Greg Cody show. At
There
this
you go. Hello.
Are the
I like
rumors
that.
true?
What's that, Billy?
The rumors that I saw on the internet yesterday?
Oh, I can confirm. Yeah. There is a new Back in My Day available.
What?
Wow.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do it now.
Brand
Do it now.
new back in
Oh,
my
yeah,
day.
a brand new one.
You remembered to print it. It's not left
Spanking
at
new.
home.
No,
Your
I'm
last back in my day was in our musical, which was released in February.
I think I've done one since then.
No.
I mean,
No.
come
I
on.
don't think so, Greg.
No, you haven't.
Okay, all right.
It's been damn near a half year.
Wow, it
By the
doesn't
way,
seem like it. Yeah.
right now is open season on For Your Consideration when it comes to the Recording Academy. And the big game is classified as a musical theater album, even though it never actually happened in theater.
Wow.
And if you saw the Grammys last year, a TikTok original musical won the category.
Wow.
So we're presently trying to figure out ways that we can get this project back in front of people. All right. I know the Super Bowl feels like a long time ago, and the musical feels like it was released even longer ago. Hell, Tom Brady even came back. But whatever we can do to weaponize our audience, make sure that the Recording Academy knows that the big game exists and is open for the musical theater category. It would be an honor just to be nominated.
Yeah, what? Who votes on that?
Members of the Recording Academy.
Ah, okay. So regular people don't vote.
No, unfortunately.
Okay.
Otherwise,
So-
I'd like our chances.
When we were in Los Angeles for the Super Bowl, we learned of the tradition of For Your Consideration. So when you drive around Los Angeles, I would say during that period, I don't know if it was Emmy voting season or Oscar voting season, but there was like 70% of the billboards were taken out by movie studios or tech companies saying, please consider our movie for the Oscars.
Right.
There'd be big billboards for whatever the major movies were of that year. What is the equivalent of that? How do we get in front? Do we know who the members of the Recording Academy are, and how do we get in front of them?
I spoke to a consultant for 2 hours the other day.
Wow.
JT Daly's manager is one of repute in the music industry and leans on quite a few contacts. And I've asked very direct questions on how we can grow this project and find a way to miraculously get a nomination, what it might take. So I have a pretty good idea of that. We are exploring all our options, some of them very creative, maybe some of them even more musical in nature. Maybe, a lot has changed since the big game was released, so maybe a little remix, a little additional track. All of this is to say that we need to get the conversation going about the big game, which you can find on all your favorite major streaming platforms. The big game, you can even stream it on YouTube. If you haven't listened to it, please do. We're very proud of that. Right now, it is open season on For Your Consideration to get the first big group of nominees out there. Then that gets whittled down. We don't have a snowball's chance in hell if we don't make an impact here in the next month. So we're trying to figure out how to do that. Is your back in my day about the big game?
No, it isn't.
I really feel like that would have put us over
It
the top.
really would. If I had a heads up, I could have tailored it. Maybe next week for the big game.
Yeah, whatever you can do.
Yeah.
Because you have a massive audience with in your podcast, the Greg Cody Show with Greg Cody. whatever you can do to mobilize these folks.
I'm going to.
Demand that the Recording Academy pay attention to the big game for Best Musical Theater Album would really be a big help for me.
Yeah.
Don't you want to be a Grammy nominee?
I would love it. I would love to go to the Academy, walk on a red carpet. I don't know what's involved.
I don't know if we're going to be able to get 23 passes to the Grammys.
Right.
So there may be hurt feelings if we get that.
Is there not like a show before the show?
This would be the show before the show. This would not be main broadcast.
You don't think we can get 23 passes to that?
Don't think so. Don't think so. If this were a couple of years ago, Dan would be bringing his parents.
What if we all go? What if we all go as seat fillers?
That is an amazing
Like
idea.
we
I would
say,
do that.
you know what? We'll sign up. We'll be seat fillers, and then when the award is announced, all the seat fillers just get up and go out on stage.
There's like one that comes from every section.
Yeah,
That's a good idea. Very
because
good
what do
idea.
they do? They kick us out. Like, who cares
they
at
can't
that
kick
point?
us all out.
Well, they can, but we don't. I don't want to
But
be at the
then,
Grammys after
it's
that.
mutually assured destruction, Billy. Where do your seat fillers go?
Yeah, that's
no
true.
one's going to want to go to the Grammys on short notice. Come on. Like this is our game. This is our play. Now it's a very long con, guys. I imagine we're gonna have
Tony
to.
Khan.
We're gonna have to. Who's joining us today live at 11 a.m.
Wow. How about that?
On YouTube. Get his thoughts. They might be his first thoughts. I don't know. I missed a Huberdeau quote, so who knows? Well, let's just call it. It's Tony Khan's exclusive first thoughts on the heels of the announcement that Vince McMahon is air quotes retiring.
Greg, do you
You're
think?
still air quoting?
Yeah, I'm still air quoting. I don't know how much influence he has behind the scenes. I don't know if this is really goodbye. And also, it's a bullshit retirement. He was forced out.
Right. Yeah, he was.
Shocked he wasn't on SmackDown. That's talent.
I'm really surprised that the very first words
Right.
on last night's Monday Night Raw broadcast weren't no chance in hell. Like,
Yeah.
Isn't his daughter still in charge?
She is co-CEOs with another Khan, not
Okay.
related, Nick Khan, who was a mega super agent in our realm, sports media. I believe Pablo Torre was one of his clients, as was Ariel Helwani. He had a lot of big time clients that were in the employ of ESPN, and now he is really ascended quite quickly to the point that he is a CEO over at WWE.
You see that picture of Triple H wearing the sad television headset?
Yeah, very tiny on him.
Yeah.
He's now running creative.
Yeah.
I as a wrestling fan, I'm excited about the change. I feel like WWE has long since been stale. That being said, I'm not gonna gloss over Vince McMahon's truly immaculate, all things considered, creative history. He's the greatest booker in the history of the business. I think that they're apparently changing the TV ratings from PG to TV 14, so they're going to get a little bit more adult. The WWE fan base has been desperate for change, so this is a real winning position that this new crew, for however long they may be, because WWE has pretty much signaled that they are for sale. A lot of people were reading into the stock price surging, up 10% yesterday. Wow, people really didn't like Vince's creative. No, what all that signaled was WWE, this ends in a sale. And that's what investors were actually taking notice of, not the creative decision. I don't think that mattered one bit.
What's that go for, WWE? Like, what's the
Billions.
market? Billions.
Billions.
Wow.
Billions.
How much would you pay for it, Greg?
$5,000.
$5,000
Yeah,
for the
$5,000.
WWE.
But that's cash.
Yeah, well, that's sometimes cash
Right.
is king. They
Exactly.
say.
That's right.
So, what would you do if you ran the WWE? You bought it. You gave them $5,000 in cash. They said, "You know what? Here are the keys."
You know what? I would legitimize it. I would turn it into Olympic-style Greco-Roman wrestling.
Just with characters?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Like
me ask-
legitimate wrestling, but the same characters.
What do you think has more value, the Denver Broncos or the WWE?
Well, the Broncos, I know what they just sold for, and it was outrageous.
$4.65 billion.
Yeah.
So what do you think has more value?
I would think an NFL team does.
You think so?
I think so.
Internationally?
I think so.
I don't know. I think WWE would probably go for fewer dollars than the Denver Broncos did, because I mean it's a hefty production week to week. That's a big time investment. But they've cut costs recently. They've cut down on the travel. They have this very lucrative deal with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, however controversial it may be.
Yeah.
Whereas
and
the
it
Denver
is quite.
the Denver Broncos appeal is quite limited. I mean, they're growing in Europe somewhat,
Right.
but at least here in the States, you're going to get all the Bronco fans you probably already have. I'm not really sure how much sustainable growth there is there. WWE is an international brand.
Do you
It's
think
as
that,
big in the UK as it is here. It's big in the Middle East. It's big in
Right.
Australia. It's big everywhere.
Does the controversy of McMahon's exit hurt the price at all, or is that like a non-factor?
I mean, it's led to its stock price going up. So
Well, yeah, Vince McMahon actually stood to gain the most from Vince McMahon's air quotes retirement because he's the largest shareholder in the company.
Right.
But it also seemed very clear that Vince McMahon was never going to sell the company, that he was going to, with his final dying breath, be sat on a headset directing the product. And so now that he's been forced out, I'd imagine the sale is more likely. Thankfully, we can at least get somewhere near the ballpark of this because we can know WWE's market cap. Their shares sell at $71 a share. Their market cap is a little under $5.5 billion.
Okay.
So they are worth more, albeit slightly more, relative to corporations than the Denver Broncos.
Maybe this is a bit more reporting that's been out there. WWE has had these discussions.
Yeah.
While Vince McMahon was there, bringing on Nick Khan and bringing on people of the board that they did, all of those moves signaled that this was the end game, Spence. And Vince McMahon isn't there to see it through, but I do think it would have inevitably sold. I think that this product is going to sell within the next couple of years.
And it seems like from we had Sean Ross Sapp yesterday, and I was listening to his podcast, and he was saying that it's actually a media company that is the most likely to buy it because you are paying as a media, like I believe NBC pays something in the neighborhood of $200 to $300 million a year for this product, and it's like, well, for a couple billion more, why don't you just own the thing? And you can get merchandise, and you can run profitable shows in arenas 3 times a week, and you get this product. We also get a major source of revenue that we know drives subscriptions. I imagine the Peacock sales business has grown immeasurably on the back of WWE. It's an incredibly valuable streaming product, so why not just own the damn thing?
I mean, it would make sense if Comcast bought WWE. I mean, they got prior relationships, Saturday Night Main Event, XFL. It would make sense.
Well, the Peacock deal, that's who I think they've had the conversations with.
The only people.
Well, the main conversations about selling. I know that ESPN was in on the acquisition of WWE Network, which eventually went to Peacock. Since Nick Khan came aboard, they've been very cunning with their business. They've also got the messaging out there a lot better about what their social media metrics do, what their TV. Everything is biggest revenue generating WrestleMania ever, most watched WrestleMania ever when you look at the fine print in terms of social impressions. Like, they're doing a great job of framing how much bigger and larger than life the WWE is as an entity.
I don't follow pro wrestling very closely, so I'm asking this with a little bit of lack of knowledge, but didn't there bloom a competitor for WWE a couple of years ago that has made inroads, or am I crazy?
Tony Khan, the head of that promotion, will be joining us at 11 a.m. live on YouTube.
Almost like I teed that up.
Did you think that we were going to talk Jags with Tony
I
Khan
honestly,
or Fulham football?
I honestly did not know about the competition.
I would love to talk about the new Premier League season. We're only 2 weeks out from
Yes.
start. Do you think if I kind of took over the interview and asked him about that, it would be good for us?
You should ask him just about that.
I would
Like, just that.
I would love that.
You signed Kevin and Babu from Wolfsburg. Tell us about it.
Yeah.
I know that Greg is excited about the Premier League because he loves saying Bournemouth.
And
they're back up.
They're back. They're back in the top flight, Greg.
I am heartsick over Watford. I'm declaring myself the only person in America who bought a Watford T-shirt in the past 2 weeks.
Did you tell the doctor yesterday when you went, I'm heartsick over Watford?
I did not. No, that did not come out.
Wow. So
did
no
not
cure
come
for
out.
that.
No.
That's just because that's your Elton John fandom right there.
It's part of it. Yeah, that's part of it.
Did you see?
What's the other part of it?
You know, it's Watford. It's an adorable club. I mean, they're up, they're down. They had in the 80s, I think it was, they had the magical season. They're an underdog. I mean, even before the past season where they had the worst record in the league, they're an
You're a
underdog
big Troy
club.
Deeney guy, are you?
You know what? I follow Everton. I mean, I don't go with the front runners. You know, I
Very
don't,
clearly.
Yeah.
Greg, I have an Elton John question for you.
Yeah.
So I saw the other day that apparently he was recording with Britney Spears a
saw
new
that.
version of Tiny Dancer.
I saw that.
How does that make you feel? Because he recently redid Rocket Man with Dua Lipa.
Yeah, which was a huge hit.
Yeah.
His biggest hit in decades.
Well, I mean, was it really his hit, though?
Well, Dua Lipa is why it was as popular as it was. But yeah, I mean, they sampled 4 of his songs actually in that record, most notably Rocket Man. And I think that inspired Elton to do more duets with younger artists.
Why Britney Spears? She's not a younger artist. Well past her perceived prime.
Compared to Elton John, she's a younger artist.
Also, singing chops. It's interesting. It's actually, it almost feels philanthropic in a way, in terms of the public rehab of Britney Spears
Right.
for Elton John,
Yeah.
who seems to have regained his golden touch to partner back up with her.
Right. I haven't heard that version of it, so I don't want to bemoan it or say it's awful when it might be surprisingly great. I don't know. I look forward to hearing it. I mean, it's an intriguing collaboration to me and an intriguing choice of song.
Well, the time has come, Greg,
Yeah.
for Dan and Stu to fit in or fit out.
I know,
So,
right?
Dan,
And disrupting
what
the whole
do you
segment.
have?
You guys missed back in my day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
it's
guys
back.
did
It was good. It was a
Get
good
out
one.
of
It
here.
was a
The
good
first
one.
in
It's
months.
shocking
It was
situation.
Thank you.
incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Appreciate that.
So Dan,
How is
it's a
it
moving
possible
train.
that I missed it? You announced on Twitter that the back in my day might indeed be returning. I don't believe that it was actually done. I believe this is a prank everyone is
Great.
pulling on
No.
me and
No, it's
Stugotz.
spectacular.
Yeah, I did
Real
do it, but I forgot to bring it. I left it at home. Sorry.
But as we did mention, you guys did jump on a moving train. So quickly, Stugotz, to close this segment out, your thoughts on Watford?
Who?